Hello and welcome to another edition of Pro Baseball World Tour. My name is Rick Crabb. I'm in the studio, and on the line with me from the Grapefruit League, Mr. Eric Marenbach. Eric, how was your week in baseball? I know you saw the Minnesota Twins earlier today. You saw a bunch of games this week. How's it been for you?
Well, I'm actually grounded. I feel like I've been in my car this week, all nonstop, between all my crazy going back and forth. And the thing that I'm actually psyched for is tomorrow opening in the CPBL.
Oh, there you go.
So I've been, bouncing around from South Florida Fives over to the other coast, seeing a bunch of games, putting a bunch of gas mileage on my car. Gas been going up day by day. Of course, people give different reasons why gas is going up. I don't even want to get into it.
Yeah, I saw that on Facebook. I mean, I don't know. I don't think we should. We're not doing that kind of show. I mean, there are a couple things I'm upset about too, but like the one thing, I'll mention one thing. I mean, you had the storms in Texas. I don't think anybody could, overcome that. That's
what this is all about, coupled with basically, all the shortages of gas from before.
Right.
When gas was way down. But, people seem to forget that because it was the other party in office. But, again, let's get away from that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the baseball. Like I said, I'm pretty psyched about tomorrow. The Asian season is getting underway and seeing how we roll.
Yeah, definitely. And I think another reason too, gas might have gone down. A lot of things were closed this time of year, including and especially baseball. And fortunately, as you mentioned, the CPBL is starting up. Major League, and the spring training's going on. And actually, I saw an announcement from my own home team, which probably, if other teams haven't made similar announcements, it's probably universal throughout major leagues. But since, I look through the black and orange glasses and bump into things, here's what I saw. Basically, the city of Baltimore, they're allowing 25% capacity at games coming up at Camden Yards. And there's a few things that you and I... What's that? Say that again?
No, I said they lowered it, because I was told that Baltimore is doing 50%.
No. Actually, what it is, the governor of Maryland would recommend 50%, but the city of Baltimore only wants to do 25%. Basically, it's a lot of political trolling of the mayor and the governor going back and forth with that kind of thing. But
I gotcha.
Yeah, the city of Baltimore actually has had some of the strictest COVID-19 standards, especially with bars, restaurants, entertainment venues, that kind of thing. A lot of people were hopeful that it would be 50%, but right now it is 25%, and I'm looking at the Baltimore Orioles website right now. So, in fact, I'll read their little presser while I have it here. It says, "We are pleased to announce that we will be welcoming fans back to Oriole Park at Camden Yards for the 2021 season at 25% capacity with updated game day policies and procedures," which mean they're covering their asses that, they can open up to 50%, hopefully. "In partnership with Major League Baseball, the Baltimore City government, and Maryland state officials, the Orioles will also implement extensive game day health and safety protocols, including social distancing, pod seating, a mask requirement, contactless digital ticketing, and more. The excitement of Orioles baseball will be the same, unfortunately, but many aspects of the day experience will be different. These changes are designed to keep the health and safety of our fans, employees, coaches, and players at the forefront of everything we do. Everyone plays a key role in game day health and safety. Understanding your responsibility before arriving to Oriole Park is an important step to maximize your experience and keep everyone as confident, safe, and comfortable as possible this baseball season. Check back for updated information, as policies and protocols are subject to change throughout the season, especially as local, state, and federal authorities issue new guidance. Basically, and they go through the changes. Number one, they will be selling pod seating. Right now, they're just selling season ticket plans, but they said coming soon single game tickets. So you're going to have to buy blocks of tickets like we were talking about the last couple episodes. Digital ticketing. Games will open 60 minutes prior to first pitch, and fans will only be permitted to enter and exit Oriole Park through gates A, C, F, and H. For easy and contactless entry into the ballpark, please have your tickets ready on your mobile device in the MLB Ballpark app. What else? Leave the cash at home. To limit touch points, Oriole Park at Camden Yards will now be a completely cashless ballpark. Methods of payment will be limited to MasterCard, Visa, American Express, and Discover. Cash will not be accepted at ballpark parking lots, concession stands, and box office. So you folks out there, you want to send your kids out to the ball game, you want to be nice and say, oh, here's $20, have fun at the game. No, they won't take it. You got to give them a gift card, I guess. Parking. Lots will open 60 minutes prior to posted game time. Purchasing parking in advance is encouraged. Methods of payment will be limited to MasterCard, Visa, American Express, and Discover. And by the way, Eric, unless things change, next time you do come, I know of a couple of cheap lots that are actually fairly close. I mean, you were telling me you were paying like $30. Last time I went, I paid only $11, and I'll let you know where that is if you ever come to see your Yankees down here. So I'll let you know about that. And anybody else come? Well, that's not true. I was going to say anybody else coming from New York, but, I'll do it for you, Eric, because you're my boy, but I don't know. The Yankees fans, and it's a thing. Anyway. Let's see, what else we got? Leave your...
Last couple of times I went to Camden, I actually paid only 10, and that was when I was not able to sneak in like I have been in the past, like getting in like 4 hours early.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's cool.
I think it was Lot A.
Probably. Where I park, and actually, I parked at the same place my father and I used to park for Ravens football games. And, it's a lot closer to Camden Yards than it is to M&T Bank. Basically, it's a garage owned by the University of Maryland Medical Center, which a lot of people refer to locally as shock trauma. It's their parking garage, and they only do it for ball games. For other events, like if they have concerts or whatever, sometimes they charge more. But I've been able to go to Ravens and Oriole games for $11, which is crazy, because, there are lots that are, like, only a block away further that charge, like, $20 or $30. Like, if you go into what's now the Royal Farms Arena, a.k.a. the Baltimore Arena, a lot of people use there a lot, and they'd be paying, like, $25 or $30 for that. So, yeah, it's... And the other regulations they have: leave your bags at home. Bags will be prohibited at Oriole Park at Camden Yards, with the exception of medically necessary items, including diaper bags. Clutch purses no larger than 5x7 will be allowed. Box office. Box office will be open for ticket sales only. Will call pickup and drop off will not be available. Yeah, I'll get into that in a little bit. Stay home if you're feeling sick. I'm not going to read that. That's self-explanatory. No outside food and beverage. Now, this is a first for the Orioles. Every other sport, it seems like they do that. But for some reason, the Orioles, they allowed people to do that until now. No outside food or drink is allowed. Limited concessions will be available for purchase. The consumption of food and beverage in the ballpark will be permitted only at your assigned seat. Eating and or drinking is strictly prohibited in all common areas, including the concourse. Now, that part I find interesting, Eric, not only because they're not allowing the outside food, but I remember the KBO, they were the exact opposite. They would not allow you to eat or drink at your seats. If you wanted to do it at a KBO game, they wanted you to go to the common areas. Like they'd have like benches like where the concession stands are. But the Orioles, they're exact opposite. They don't want you to eat a hot dog or drink a beer outside in the corridor. They want you to stay at your seat to do that. So,
Well, guess what? You know why they're doing it. No outside food, and it's going to be like that in every ballpark.
Of course, yeah. Like I said, I think this is probably, it's painted black and orange for this team's website, but I'm sure every team's adopting something very similar. They're not.
Every team is going to do that, and there's one reason for that.
Money.
It has nothing to do with safety either. It's
money.
revenue.
Yeah. That's why, I mean,
Okay.
the NFL's done that for years.
Everybody lost money during the pandemic, and that includes the concessions people. So they're going to use the pandemic as basically saying, you cannot bring outside food in. Why? Because we want your cash.
Exactly, which is also why they want you to buy blocks of tickets, which there may be a safety element to it, but I think a lot of it, as you said, they're trying to recoup from last year. It's like, you know. So, what I don't like about that, Eric, is I don't know how you are with games when I'm going with friends. Usually it's like, okay, if I'll go with a group of 3 or 4 or whatever, it's like, I'll if I get there earlier, they'll wait for me, or if they get there earlier, they'll wait for me, or sometimes if it's after the game starts, I'll just go to the seats and leave them a will call, which sounds like you can do that maybe, but for the most part, it's like they're telling you they don't want you to go to different seats, which is another thing I don't like, which I used to like at Oreo games. Sometimes if I wanted to go by myself, I'd buy a general admission ticket for the upper decks, and I'd hang out in the flag court, try to shag a home run ball, or hang out in the center field bar. But with these new rules, I can't do that. So if I buy a seat now, section 330 whatever, behind a foul pole, I gotta stay there for the whole damn game. So it's like,
And it's fine and fine. And this is why I say, and it's going to piss off some people, that at any stadiums whatsoever, you cannot have walk-ins. I'm sorry. Unless you have your quota at your stadium where you would have enough season ticket holders to manage within that quota, you can't have game day fill. You can't.
well, I hear you. I mean, I'm of the opinion, well, partially that and the fact that they're only selling them in the the pods anyhow. I probably won't go to a game until it's almost back to normal. I don't mind wearing a mask. If I have to do the ticket listing, I'll save up, I'll get another phone, which that chaps my ass a little bit, but that's, every team's going to be doing that, so. But I see myself, unless I'm going with a big group of fans, probably watching games on TV right now, I just kind of pissed me off a little bit. So, and it's like if I want, or watching it at a bar or a restaurant or what have you. Or, now I'm curious to see how the minor leagues do, what they do with this. I mean, I can see it going either way with them. I mean, on one hand, they've always had the thing where you didn't bring in the food. Okay, that's no big deal. You can, and like you said, and friends of mine have done, you can sneak in a bag of peanuts or something if you're slick, it's all good. But, I mean, as far as the ticket thing, I'm not sure how that's going to work with the minor leagues, but I'm sure in a way they are going to want to also recoup, especially since Major League Baseball has kind of gutted a lot of the leagues, and you don't have a Carolina League or a South Atlantic League. It's a high A East, low A East, they make it sound more like, I don't know, college basketball conferences than minor leagues now. It's ridiculous. But
it's evolution.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm thinking it's de-evolution in some ways, It's evolution of the dollar. I think it's the only thing that's... but... And especially since, Eric, I mean... You know what? It's not our fault that there was a goddamn pandemic and that state and local and federal governments won't let us go anywhere, okay? I'm sorry, Darryl Strawberry, or whoever, any rich baseball players, I'm sorry that you can't buy that extra yacht or that extra house in Malibu or Florida, okay? It's not our fault, And really, I mean, I've heard a lot of cases where the owners really don't, I mean, I'm sure they do care in in the sense of, okay, yeah, they'll take any money they can get. But really, their main source of income are the regional cable networks. Your Massons, your Yeses, your Nessons. That's where I've heard now that they make their money. Especially last year when, that's the only way they could make any money. So.
Well, you had your TV contract, and within your TV contract, you had whoever paid for commercial time on those networks.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And
now you're going to have, fans at the ballpark, whatever it is, whatever percentage it is, and however they want to work it. What pisses me off is, okay, you got, basically now you've got almost 2.5 weeks till opening day. These teams don't have a plan in sight about, even with my idea of the season ticket holders getting priority, which season ticket holders actually get the majority of it now.
Well, I mean, and you're probably right, although the Orioles are trying to spin it like they are giving the season ticket holders priority because they haven't even sold any single tickets yet. They're strictly selling 5-day, according to this, 5-day plans and what they call Birdland memberships, which are the big season ticket packages. But, and, yeah.
No, they shouldn't be selling it yet.
Well,
I agree with.
Well, I mean, there is, I don't know. I mean, I think at least seems like what the Orioles are doing, I think they're trying to find out how many season ticket holders they have first. Because, I mean, there are some people who did buy some last year for different teams, but a lot of people were like, screw it. There's not even going to be a season. Why should I bother? But, so they're trying to see how much of that element is, so. And mileage may vary for different cities and different teams, but seems like locally, I don't know, that kind of makes sense. They're trying to find out, okay, who's putting up the big money up front first. And they're going to take care of them first, and then and another thing with this team in general, Eric, they hadn't drawn. The last few years, they have not drawn. Ever since the Nationals came, their attendance kept dipping more and more and more, and now the fact that they stink, they don't draw if they're not playing the Yankees or the Red Sox or a popular National League team. Okay, so, I mean, the fact that they're saying, well, only 25,000 seats or 20,000 seats are left, it's like, I've seen some games like the previous full season, Eric, where they didn't even draw like 3,000 or 4,000. I mean, there have been games, there's times actually when I read the attendance of nearby minor league teams that actually outdrew the Orioles on the weekend.
Right.
So,
the only reason why the attendance figures are kind of inflated is because they allot for the corporate plan holders.
Yeah.
So to speak.
Well, yeah, they count the seats that are already sold. Yeah, I get that, but still, even with those inflated figures, though, even with, say, Under Armour or McCormick's or I don't know any or Geico or any local Baltimore or Maryland large corporate sponsor. I mean, you have that, and you're still drawing under 10,000 people. And during the week, sometimes under 5,000 people. So I've seen some under 2,000 people. It's really sad. I mean, I've grown up on the Orioles, and I've gone to a lot of games when they first opened that stadium, seeing it packed, and then when I see it empty, it's like, what the hell? Did a bomb hit or something? What's going on here? But so I mean, I have a feeling what'll happen, Eric, is I think you're going to have a lot of people want to buy season tickets, and I think it's going to be the hottest ticket in town at the moment. So we'll see. I'm glad, and I don't know, this might vary with the different teams too. I'm glad they're not doing what the New York Rangers and Knicks are doing, where it's like, okay, you have to have a COVID test, and if you don't, okay, no problem, you can go across the street and pay $250 to get one done. That is like sleazy beyond, I don't know, 10,000 car lot salesman. That's ridiculous, man. That's taking advantage of, people getting sick and dying, and you're just using it to make a buck off of it.
Well, as far as I was just discussing it with a fellow Yankee season ticket holder today, as he got the no news email. You've got to be able to put on your season ticket profile when was your last test and or vaccine. And that's to further regulate the social distancing and people that are around your section. You have to be able to do that. So if there happens to be a testing site across the street just so that you can get into the game, hey, so it's unfortunately, until we're free from it, until everybody gets vaccinated, that's the only way that you're going to be able to do this.
At least do it right. I mean, and like you said, there may be teams that don't do that, and that could backfire on them. You get like a big spread of, I don't know, you have like a homestand of, get like a big Nats Philly series or something like that, and then you have like a big outbreak. So, I mean, and they might wind up having to do that with some teams and areas and such. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Personally, Eric, I think because I'll probably stay away, not because I'm not, I'm not afraid to go to a game now. If, I'll wear a mask and sit in the stands. I don't care. It's the economic factor. It's the fact that, I mean, if I get like a group of friends that want to go to like a specific day, like, I don't know, they're giving away a hat or, I don't know, like a tanker night or something, some good giveaway, or if it's a good team we want to see and it's on that specific night, I might go. But the fact you got to buy the pods and, you got to scan everything on the phones and all that stuff. And that's another thing, Eric. I mean, I know I've been complaining about it, but I actually have friends that are older, that are actually in the 65 and older group, who still have these stupid Columbia, consumer cellular flip phones. That, I mean, if you were to get like one of those apps, it'd be like, holy shit, how am I going to do that on this thing, And they're kind of, a lot of them, they just want to resist technology altogether. And I think a lot of it's because they're cheap too. But but no, you have some people like that also. So I know that's the digital thing. Okay, that's the way to go because other teams are doing it. I had to do it to see the Nats in the World Series. I had to do it to see the friggin' XFL last year. So I know it's not just baseball that's doing it. It's going to be all sports. All concerts probably, too. Concerts have been doing it for a while, but now it's probably going to be that all together. So.
You've got to go the electronic ticketing route. It makes no sense not to do it any other way. You can't have paper tickets. There's just too much of a risk going on between, possibly the person in the ticket office that hands you the ticket from the machine that it prints from. There's too much risk involved.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. You feel that way just for now, or you think from here on out? I think it'll be done for here on out more for economic reasons than for disease reasons. But, do you think once we get vaccinated and all that, if you still have, like, a little minor league team or you have, like, other, like, small concert venues or where you live, Broadway theaters, that may still print tickets. You see that happening, or you think everybody's going to just jump on that altogether? I mean, we'll never see paper again.
It's a sign of the times, and everybody's going to jump on it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I think. I mean, now it's for safety, but sooner or later it's going to be like, this is the way you do things.
Right. They're going to be like, hey, you know what? We can make money off of this. Let's just keep it that way, you know.
I don't even think it's the making money out of this factor. It's really not.
Well, I mean, it's not just making money off the tickets, but I mean, that's less people Ticketmaster or Live Nation or the sports teams would have to charge. I mean, would have to employ. You know, it's just cutting down on labor for them. You know, but not that they're like, you know, thriving, high-paying jobs anyhow. But you know, that's probably what they're looking at too. That's just less overhead for them.
No, because you're still going to have the ticket agents over the phone taking the orders.
Will you? Or, because, I mean,
yep.
A lot of...
Not everybody's going to do online only. People are still going to call because they don't trust online or the internet is jammed or something else. So you have to have a backup plan. So you're going to have reps in.
Okay. I mean... Yeah, I could see that to an extent, but a lot of times it's like even, not just ticket agencies, I mean, but like, I don't know, other entities like car insurance and stuff, or banks. A lot of times
and the only way to avoid that is to outsource to like Bombay.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what a lot of them do, or they hire less people on, and they've been doing it anyway because of COVID, and it's like, your wait times, like, you know, it's like, well, we'll be on next person in line, approximate wait 15 minutes. You can call us back on Geico.com and all that kind of stuff, you know. So some people will call at first and just get discouraged and be like, all right, screw it. I'll get my, you know, 8-year-old grandkid to get me online and do it, you know. So I think that's what's going to happen too. So eventually that part's going to get phased out as well. Again, sign of the times, but... yeah. But, I mean, I think another thing, too, that discourages a lot of people, and sports, I mean, they've done it to themselves. The fact that people are just more comfortable watching the game. And I don't mean because of COVID. I mean just because of economics. It's because it's like, all right, my couch is more comfortable than that, you know, plastic green seat that's like now 200 degrees in a 95-degree day game, you know. I can go to the bathroom when I want. I can buy my concessions, you know, my food and drinks a lot cheaper. I mean, some people just like the experience of staying home now. I mean, I think a lot of people are getting soured on the live game experience. I mean, I still like to go to games and all, don't get me wrong, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. And there are some people that just would rather see the game in high def than to, you know, go to a ballpark and maybe see, like, some of the game with obstructive view and that kind of thing, too. But, I don't know. I don't know. I still think part of going to a game, I mean, you have, like, another atmosphere with all the fans and all that, too. So, I kind of see where, like, the players are kind of, like, weirded out by that. At first, I thought they were just crying, but now thinking about it, though, I mean, you go to the ballpark for the smells, you know, for the sounds. It's just, and you kind of like to sometimes just feel the energy if it's a good game, you know, so. And that's why you like to go to Taiwan, and that's why I want to go to Taiwan and Japan and stuff. And I don't know. I just want them to get these vaccinations over with. I'm kind of pissed that I have to wait while, you know, I have other friends who, because they work for a hospital or a school, have had 2 or 3 immunizations. I'm more looking for my first one, and and many of them are younger than I am. So, but
well, unfortunately, you have to do kind of what we did, and just, you know, it requires a lot of diligence, a lot of patience, and a little bit of luck. But you might have to go the route that we did as far as like finding a spot with allocation at the end of the day.
Yeah. I think that's what some people are doing. They're going to, like, well, here locally, a lot of people are going to different parts of the state. It's like, I read on Facebook, one lady was saying she lives 2 miles from the Baltimore Convention Center and M&T Bank, the Ravens Stadium, where they've been vaccination sites. But said because it's taken them so long to put her in line, she drove down to Six Flags Amusement Park, which is near where the Redskins play in Prince George's County, and, you know, she got an appointment down there. She had to, like, drive, 40 miles there instead of going someplace that's 2 miles from her house. So, but, and, I'm not above doing that either, so I may do that. I've been actually going on some websites and putting my name in line and seeing, waiting patiently. Well, trying to wait patiently anyway. Patience never been one of my virtues, to be honest, Eric, so.
Me neither.
All right.
Me neither, for sure.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, Eric. We were talking about Asian League starting up. I saw an article regarding the KBO. Arthur from the Dinos, he was complaining about the mask mandates. He said he will comply as far as what the Korean governments and what the KBO and the NC Dinos Institute, but he was basically saying that, he's basically an anti-masker. He was basically saying, things are, the disease is overhyped, and the masks don't protect you as much as they want you to, and all this other stuff. I mean, he's riding, I don't know if if he rides the Trump train, but he sounds like a lot of passengers on that. Let's just say that.
And I made a comment, I believe, when I forget who first posted that, whether it was Danny, whether it was our friend Mr. Kim, whether it was that journalist GOU, I forget who it was that originally posted that.
Mm-hmm.
When you get a guy like Aaron Altair, who for years was a career journeyman minor leaguer, then he goes and has a career-type year in the KBO, shut up and play.
Right. Well,
if the game is the only way that you can still hang on and play the game that you love, when either you didn't get offered a contract in MLB for spring training, or didn't put forth the effort to try and come back, or whatever, when you're either forced or voluntarily want to stay in the KBO, shut up and play. You're lucky you got a job.
Yeah. I mean, he said he's not going to resist or anything. He's going to comply, but, somebody from Yon Hop asked him. I mean, it's like, somebody. So, Eric, what do you think? You think these COVID protocols are good or not? And you'll say how you feel, and other people who feel differently may say something different, like Arthur. So,
Honestly, then he should have held his tongue.
I don't think it's hurt him per se. I mean, he's still getting paid by the Dinos, and Yon Hop wanted to sell papers or get clicks on their website or whatever. So, I mean, I don't think they're going to bust his chops about it either. So
something might have gotten lost in the translation also, but or maybe there was a button pushed or something.
Yeah.
That the journalist asked him a question and it got under his skin, and then finally he just lashed out.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like that. Shut up and play.
Yeah, because, I mean, I read that article. I didn't take it as Arthur being angry. He was just saying his opinion. It's just, it's one that, I mean, it is a hot button topic, but I think I think it's more so here than it would be over there. Because over there, it's like I think their government's stricter about it, and it's like even if you don't, even if somebody doesn't tell you to shut up and play, the government will tell you to shut up and play, or just shut up, or you won't play, you'll be out of money. So, I mean, the South Korean government has threatened to do that a few times with them, and, they've kind of stayed the course with it, so. Yeah.
And let's face it, when it comes right down to it, in any of the leagues, whether it's KBL, whether it's CPBL, NPB, what have you, the reason why the cases are so low is because, and this applies to Australia too, that as soon as the case, or as soon as there's like one or two cases, you shut down, or you don't allow fans in.
Right.
To maintain player safety.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're trying to do here. Maybe we should have done that also here. Maybe a year ago, when this whole thing went down, that's why I say, back in January when something was first discovered, but we poo-pooed it for a month and a half until that famous date of a year ago today. Maybe we wouldn't be in the situation that we have been over the past year.
Yeah, I mean, there's ifs and buts, but then again, prior to that, you had swine flu, you had SARS, you had other diseases like that, and you didn't have the whole world shutting down because of those. So, I guess that's how they were figuring, too. They were going by precedent, so, I don't know. It's a shame it's gone down the way it has. In a lot of ways. With obviously the most obvious people, and most important people getting sick or dying from it, but, it's also caused adversity for a lot of other people financially and emotionally and a lot of things, too, so.
Right. You gotta nip everything in the bud, as far as I'm concerned.
Yep. You'd be all Barney's life about it, so, Although, there's one thing, and look, I'm not a Biden basher, but there's one thing I thought he said that was a crock of shit. He actually bragged on Twitter. He did what Trump did. He basically said, I'm proud to announce that 1 out of every 4 Americans has been vaccinated for the vaccine. That is horseshit. Because, locally, that's not even close to being the case. There are probably less people vaccinated that is a smaller percentage of people vaccinated than people that actually tested positive for it. I saw on the news the other night, it was like all of Maryland, it was maybe like 3%. It was ridiculous. He can even say that, though. I even wrote back to him on Twitter, and I'm not, I wasn't like most people. I said, with all due respect, I don't think that's the case. It's certainly not where I live, so,
Well, see, when somebody makes a statement like that, they're talking big picture. They're not talking municipality.
But 1 out of 4, no, it can't be right, though. 1 out of 4 is... Yeah.
Don't be surprised, because you've got, the population of over 350 million people?
Right.
And you've already distributed out 100 million vaccines. That right there is almost a third.
Well, there's a difference between distributing to immunization centers and actually vaccinating people with them.
No, that's 100 million doses in arms, dude.
No, I think the number's a little skewed. Because that would be, he'd be saying 25% of the country, that's bullcrap. If it's...
already that amount of shots, now whether it has to do with fully vaccinated or at least one dose.
When they say distributed, it means Johnson & Johnson's giving it to the government of New York or Maryland or Pennsylvania or whatever. That doesn't mean that people are actually getting it in their arms. No, that's not true at all. That is not true at all. That means Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer has given it, they can say, okay, yeah, we received this amount of vaccine. That doesn't mean everybody's received it yet, because right now they're limiting it. I mean, you mean to tell me 25% of the people are first responders and senior citizens 65 and older? And
or have gotten vaccine the way I had, by starting the system.
I think you're more in the minority than the majority of it, to be honest, though. But, well,
I firmly believe that there have been at least 100 million shots throughout the country administered, whether the first and second or just the first.
Well, I hope that's the case, and I want to eventually be one of them. I know I'm not one of them. That's all I know, and that's all I care about, really. But
that's why you got. Unfortunately, it's one of those. It's one of those where you got to have World Street Smarts here and there. I don't want to look.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure how much of either one I have. Luck, plenty of the bad. That's how I feel. But moving right along. We were talking about this a little bit off of the air. In the department of, okay, now I feel friggin' old. Nick Markakis announced his retirement this week. He has played in the majors for 15 years. Last few years with the Atlanta Braves. Played with the Orioles for a large part of his career as well, and that's where he was originally drafted for. So it's hard to believe he played that long. I remember actually seeing him basically 2 months after he was drafted out of college playing low A ball in the New York Penn League, Eric. I don't know. Do you have an opinion of Nick Markakis as a player? He was a good player. I wouldn't say he was a superstar player, but he was solid, outfielder, I'd say.
That's exactly how I look at it. Believe it or not, I believe he went to high school on Long Island. I think he went to Lutheran High School with which at the time was my neck of the woods around Glen Cove, Long Island.
Oh, interesting.
He had a solid career. Again, not a superstar. There were some days where you would think he's not an NBA player, but he's one of those clutch players. If he need a hit, he just happens to be there. He won't make the stylish plays in the outfield, but he's there.
Right.
And he's essential. Hall of Famer down the line? Yeah. Borderline, maybe, due to his service time. Definitely not a Hall of Famer as far as numbers go.
No.
It's like the goals of the Hall of Famer numbers-wise. But you never know.
Yeah, he was I wouldn't say he was a superstar outfielder. He was, like I said, he was solid. And he was reliable as far as a glove. And I remember seeing him make a few plays with his arm. But I remember when the Orioles drafted him, they tried to act like, oh, man, this guy's going to be, a breakout star and a hitter and all that. And I don't think that part really developed. I think the better part of his game was more his glove work. But a lot of people liked him here. As far as Hall of Fames, I doubt he'll get into the Major League Hall of Fame. I could be wrong. The Orioles, I wouldn't be surprised if he put them in their Hall of Fame, because he was a pretty popular player here. So happy trails, Nick Markakis. Hope you have a good retirement. I'm sure you'll have a better one than I will. That's for damn sure. So. Now, Eric. Go ahead.
I think he's on the right on the wall, even if he was going to come back to the Braves camp. They are using guys like Christian Pache in the outfield now, so more or less his time has come. And the younger direction too.
Right.
And I don't know if he either tested the market or, looked around to other teams, but once he saw that the well was running dry, it was kind of like a no-brainer to kind of hang up your shoes and call it a career after 15 years.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean, it probably had a lot to do with it. It could have been some family things, too. I don't know, sometimes these players, it's like they're pressured by their wives. It's like, okay, we need you home, so so I guess that might have something to do with it all. But yeah, I think it's probably more so economics and him not wanting a minor league contract with somebody or anything like that. So
right.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, Eric. I know I've been asking you the last couple of weeks as far as your experiences with these spring training games and all that. You've gone to a lot of stadiums. You've gone to a lot of teams. What would you say is would be your favorite, and what would you say is your least favorite as far as the spring training sites you've gone to this year?
This year, it's a very different year because it's over, because of the lack of activity. I mean, half of the experience of going to a spring training game is interacting with players, just getting there, interacting with people, interacting with players, the whole food aspect. A lot of it got taken away where you're not allowed to go to workouts. You're not allowed to go to the backfield to see the minor leaguers and get psyched up for it.
Mm.
Even the entry times, like you were saying at the beginning, where the Orioles are only allowing people in an hour ahead. That's more or less because A, you have no capacity of fans. B, you don't have that many ticket holders anyway. And C, you want to get people in their proper seats and not milling around.
Right.
So, the whole experience is a little bit backwards.
True.
Spring training most do not be about that, and it's become that to the point where actually one of the sites that I've been to, Tiger Stadium, was only letting people in an hour before. Otherwise, it's an hour and a half to 2 hours. But really, with no interaction with players, there's nothing really to do except eat.
Right. And that was always fun. I mean, I enjoyed that as a kid, too. You'd go to a game early, you'd watch... I mean, Major League, sometimes you don't always get to interact with the players, but sometimes you do get autographs at the dugout, or you get to go to batting practices. I mean, I remember one place my father worked at, they used to... at Memorial Stadium, they used to have bullpen parties, where they didn't have, skyboxes or anything then, but what corporations would do, they would let you go behind the outfield wall, which is where they had, literally, they had their bullpens. And they had, they would have, they'd have pit beef and hot dogs or whatever. And then a lot of players in batting practices from both teams would be hitting home run balls in batting practice. You get a free baseball. There's one game that I actually had, 3 baseballs. I kept 2 and I gave them to another kid that I outran, And they also let some of the players actually come, and they had these little picture postcards of each individual player, and they would sign them for you. I mean, that was really cool. So, yeah, I mean, you miss out on a lot of that, and I mean, all fans, I think, miss out on that, but especially kids. I mean, that's probably why you're a fan of baseball now, and I'm a fan of baseball now, is because we had good memories of it as a kid, But
the way I see it, if you have to take off a year, but just to get the game back, even if you don't have all the experience in, it's still back. You
right.
can still watch it. You just can't do all the other extracurricular stuff.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that things will improve as far as that's concerned. But yeah, I can see that. And I mean, they're doing other things too. It's not just with the fans. I mean, media doesn't have access to the clubhouses or anything like that either. So it's like they have to do the stupid Zoom things where they're all, I guess, in the press box, taking turns interviewing, Girardi or whoever's manager or whoever. But it's a lot of things. So, but I mean. Now, that being said, because, that's one thing. A lot of stadiums, they depended on these little distraction things. I mean, major and minor leagues. I mean, you have, like, the Diamondbacks, they had, like, a swimming pool in center field. You have, like, a lot of minor league teams, they have, like, I don't know, carousel rides and carnival rides. And I remember going to seeing a minor league team in Myrtle Beach. They actually had a beach volleyball court, like, behind left field. So, it's like, a lot of those stadiums, I think they depended on, like, those extra little things to, like, distract the kids that are bored and don't want to watch baseball, but you can have them, get tired out on a playground or whatever. So, I imagine that part's been taken out because of all this COVID business.
It might be. Again, everything's pushed back because you have no minor league camp to separate it from the 40-man roster, so the minor league season gets pushed back into May. And quite frankly, I don't know how it's going to be done. I don't know how it's going to work, but hey.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Although they kind of had a model from last year, though. I guess maybe when, like, the teams had, like, their own little camps, to send their minor leaguers to practice in until they called them up. I guess maybe they can do that again this year for a month, and then they can go to the minor league, different minor league teams that are in existence, or maybe even send, like, some, like, their college draft picks to some new MLB draft league, or whatever. But it'll be interesting. It's going to change things up.
Right. And again, it's probably going to be the case where when the minor league portion of the camp's set up, you're not going to have fans in there. Like in Florida and Arizona. It's just going to be like total inter-squad scrimmages, and then they break up.
You think so? Because, I don't know. A lot of the teams I've been looking up online seem to have different opinions of that. I'm seeing schedules, I'm seeing promotions and shit like you've seen pre-COVID. So, I don't know. Maybe that might change if you have another surge or outbreak or whatever, but I don't know. I looked at a couple of teams last week. I was talking to a friend who lives near Durham, a team near her. We were talking about, she wants to see whatever Oriole affiliates down there because she's from Maryland. And I found out they're playing, her team is playing the Delmarva Shorebirds down there, like, on Labor Day weekend. I was thinking of doing a roadie down there. And then, like, I saw, like, Aberdeen, they switched up a lot of their cities, which is kind of interesting. And it was like they still have some New York Penn League cities, but they have, like, 2 Carolina League cities and a couple of South Atlantic League cities, so they kind of, like, change things all up. It's kind of weird how they do that. It'll be interesting to see how they change things up.
Right. No, but I'm just saying, like, from a training camp perspective.
Yeah. This is a good question. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure either. I would guess they would it would be a microcosm of last year where they just have, like, their, whatever was their satellite camp or whatever, just do that for a month and then have them go to Bowie or Aberdeen or for the Yankees to Somerset. Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to ask you too. I saw that in the Double-A League, the Yankees have changed teams from Trenton, which is now in the MLB Draft League, and now Somerset, where I think I think you went there to see like a couple of like split squad games. So I mean, you're familiar with that stadium, that area. How do you feel about them? About Double A teams being maybe a little closer to you?
Yeah, we've been through this a number of times. I actually like the switch over to Somerset. It's slightly closer than Trenton. It's maybe a 10-minute difference, big whoop. But I don't know why they did switch. But I don't know. It may give a decent fan base.
Yeah.
I do think Trenton got screwed because originally they got. I think they were actually told at first that Philly was going to take them over. Philly went a different direction, and that's why Trenton's only alternative was this draft league.
Huh.
And the funny part about Trenton now is now that they're a draft league, they actually set up their promo schedule, and the only bobbleheads that they're giving out were the non-player type bobbleheads that they were supposed to give out last year.
Oh, no kidding.
Black Panther, Spider-Man, something like that. Non-player district.
Right. And it's interesting how teams do that, because usually they usually either do that or they have, like, I don't know, alumnus of that team. I mean, it was like, I know, like, the Altoona Curve, I was up there one time, they were giving away Barry Bonds stuff. And he was with the Giants at that time, but, I mean, he started out in the Pirate system, and playing for Pittsburgh. So they were still giving, and like I know the Bay Sox, they were still giving out Markakis stuff. When he moved out of the Orioles organization. So I mean,
but now that Trenton is like a totally different league,
yeah,
I guess I think there's some sort of a stipulation where an independent franchise can't. It's like a whole licensing thing where they can't do like their former team. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean that could be it. I mean, I think it's unfair to the Trenton Thunder for that because I mean it's kind of like it's still their logo and on, and it's not like I could maybe see their point if they were in like the Atlantic League with like the New York Bears if they switched to that league. But I mean the fact that their league is supposedly affiliated with Major League Baseball. I mean, I don't think. I personally wouldn't think that would be a problem, but it could be it. But
that whole Parker League bullshit, I didn't understand it. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I think what it was, Eric. I think a lot of the minor league teams, I think were providing competition for the majors, So, it's just as far as it being affordable, and I know some people live in suburbs and don't want to go into the major cities. They're like, okay, well, I'll go see their Double A or Single A team, and that way I can take the kids, and it'll be cheaper for me to fill them with cotton candy and ice cream in the helmets and get them wired and tired and go to bed, But so it's probably like that's probably what it was. It was probably the major league owners were complaining about that. But I kind of blame them, especially my team. They decided they wanted to have a lot of their minor league teams nearby, and I think they did it originally for player development, so they wouldn't have to send somebody to Rochester or beyond, where they can just go to Bowie or Frederick or Hagerstown or Salisbury, Maryland, or just somewhere within the state within an hour or two drive instead of having to like catch a red eye somewhere. So, but then what happened? The minor league teams started becoming popular. They were like they were cheaper entertainment and plus I mean minor leagues. One thing they do is they go to the grassroots as far as baseball. They sell it as a family sporting event. I mean, as much as I love the NFL and the NHL, if I had a kid, I don't know if I'd want to take them to a football or hockey game. Especially, I mean, my father was like that. He didn't want me to go to any hockey games, and I found out, or football games, and I found out why. Because people cuss like sailors, they get into fights, they drink like idiots, and it's a rougher environment. Whereas baseball is more relaxed, it's a day in the sun, it's like some of the minor league places, like Frederick, they had like a little, kind of like a little grassy area. You can bring like a picnic blanket, all that kind of stuff, and you probably see that a lot now with the spring training stadiums. I mean, it's a different vibe. I mean, George Carlin, I think, even used to joke about that, how differences between baseball and football. Basically, he said, like, baseball is played in a park, the baseball park. Football is played in a coliseum or a stadium, either called Memorial or War Memorial Coliseum. Basically saying, it's a grim. Basically, baseball is a relaxing sport where football was, full of mean stuff. So I don't know, that was kind of funny, but.
That's fun.
Yeah. And I think that description of idea about baseball, I think, is more with this country than anywhere else. I think from what we've seen especially with the Asian leagues, I think it's more of a raucous environment. But, I mean, raucous in a good way as far as a fun, enthusiastic way. I wouldn't necessarily say, like, soccer hooligan, Charlestown Chiefs and Slapshot kind of way, with their fans, that kind of thing. It's positive. It's K-pop and J-pop, dancing girls and all that kind of stuff. So or Chinese girls singing Rock You 10. I mean, it's that kind of thing. Baseball, I remember like one guy comparing KBO to MLB, where MLB was like the opera and KBO was like a rock concert. So, and I think that's kind of an apt description, but.
Oh, I like that. I like that analogy, actually.
Yeah. But, yeah, in fact, it was funny. I was even looking at, Japan Ball. I was looking as far as, like, for cruises, and this is pie in the sky. I probably won't be able to do this until next year because of, I think, just the travel restrictions. Japan's still not letting, a lot of foreigners come into their country. But they actually have a thing, Eric. Check this out. They actually have these different tour packages. They have 3 of them for Japan, but they have like a smaller one for Japan that you can combine with Korea. And they have it where it's staggered. You can go to Seoul and go to 5 games in Seoul, like mostly at the Sky Dome and the stadium where like Doosan and the Twins play at. You go like 3 games there, and I think they had a game with I think the KT Wiz is nearby. Is like go to their stadium too, and it's like you go there for a week, and then you have the option of either just making that your trip and going home, or flying to Tokyo and going to a bunch of games there. You go to like 5 games, so you go to like you can see like maybe like 3 or 4 KBO games, and then another 4 or 5 NPB games. So. That's baseball porn almost. That sounds amazing. So
that would actually be pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah. But again, it's on that I kind of want to wait till next year. I think it's more just as far as like the country's government seeing what they want to do. But I also saw. I'll send you the link, Eric. If you've probably been if you haven't been there already. They have a trip also to Europe where I think they have like I don't know if it's an exhibition game or it's just a regular season game that they're playing in the UK, but it's a game with the White Sox in it and against somebody, I forget who it was, but they have a trip to go there. And they also have one to the Dominican Republic too. So, yeah. But I think it's different times with those leagues though. The UK one, I think, is like the beginning of probably next year's baseball season, kind of like around this time of year. The Dominican Republic, I think, is more like a Winter League thing. And
I was going to say, Philly plays Winter League.
Yeah.
It's a summer league there in the Dominican. Nobody goes there anyway.
Right. And the Korea and Japan is, and they've always done it with Japan. I've looked on their website. They usually do it like in, kind of like late in their season, kind of like in September. But it's like they're kind of like doing it to combine with Korea. They're doing August. It's like, I think it's the week just before Labor Day weekend, and then the Japan trips are like the week after or 2 weeks after, you know, depending which one of those you pick. So, but yeah, it should be a lot of fun.
Believe me, like I said, as soon as we're able to get out of the country, as long as the Yankees aren't home,
Mm-hmm.
I would rather be in Taiwan where I'm comfortable.
Right. And you especially, I mean, you've gone to enough games where you made friends there, and also, I mean, you have a leg up. I mean, you know your way around those stadiums and those areas. You have friends you can stay with, and I think that's a big difference too. Where if you're, because I mean, I used to have a teacher in high school. He used to travel to Europe a lot, and a lot of them, he knew people in these countries. And he would like stay in bed and breakfast and Airbnb and are now called like Airbnbs. He would go to a lot of those things. So that's probably the way to go too. Especially if you have a friend there that'll show you the ropes instead of just, you know, like a travel agency taking you to like the touristy spots, you know, where you get to enjoy like the local culture, local food, and it probably just adds to the experience. But you know, it's.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say about that. We'll get there.
Yeah. I'm of the opinion right now, I think this is, I mean, I'm glad that there will be more games to watch. I'll probably, if I go to a Major League game, maybe like one or two, but I'll probably go to like maybe a couple minor league games. But once, I want them to get the stuff straightened out with this vaccine. If I get vaccinated, you know, like 2 or 3 times, I'll be good with that, and then, you know, and hopefully they'll stop selling in the. It's really, I'll tell you the truth, Eric, I'm really more concerned about the pod seating. As soon as, like, stadiums feel like, okay, we can go back to normal as far as sitting, I'll wear a mask. I don't give a shit, you know. I'll do that as long as I can, as long as, you know, we're back to normal as far as the walk-ups and all that shit. So, you know.
Oh, well. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
I'm just, you know. Wherever there's a game on TV, I'm watching.
Right.
Until actually get into a stadium. That's why these spring training stadiums are a blessing.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And you've had some good college and high school teams to watch, too, and you got to meet Manny, you lucky bastard. But, you know, but, I mean, yeah, that's, you know, and, I mean, you're lucky that part of the country, I mean, more things are open for that, so that's...
Yep.
You're able to take advantage of that. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So, as far as games coming up, what are some places you're going to hit as far as spring training? How many more of them you have coming up?
Well, let's see. Tomorrow is a night game with, I think it's the Nationals and Mets. Sunday, I think I'm going to Palm Beach. I don't know the thing yet. Because I decided to switch my plans around.
Mm-hmm.
Monday, I will be going back up to Northport to see the Braves. I think they're playing the Red Sox.
Mm.
Then today I switched my plans so that this way I can actually hit the high schools again to see Danny and his kid.
Oh, there you go.
Wednesday, I actually have to go do the game in Palm Beach at night, simply because I'm picking up something that a friend of mine from Texas, when I bought it off eBay, I had her pick it up instead of having them ship it over to me because he wouldn't do it.
Right. Mm.
So they finally arrived to spring training, and they'll be at the game Wednesday, so I have to make sure that I'm there.
Okay.
And I think I'm pretty much local for the rest of the week, which is strange because I didn't want it that way, but it turned out that way.
Right.
It is what it is.
Yeah, well, I mean, sounds like you've had a lot of fun. You got to see a lot of different teams and different stadium experiences and all that. So that's cool. That's a lot. Sounds like fun. That's another thing as far as like that's another reason I want these teams to get away from the pod seating and eventually go back to as far as individual seats. Because not just for the Orioles, I used to do that where it's like Orioles weren't in town, they didn't have any minor leagues, I would go to a Nationals or go to a Phillies. Or like I said, I want to go where my cousin's at in Pittsburgh, maybe go to one just to see a new stadium or whatever. And unfortunately, that sounds like another thing you won't be allowed to do. Like if I were to go to PNC Park, I'd want to walk around and take pictures of Roberto Clemente and the river behind the stadium and all that. It sounds like, if they're doing what the Orioles are doing, I'll probably have some guy in a Pirates hat say, okay, no, you just got to sit down. You got to stay here. You can't move around the stadium. I'm like, all right, whatever. So.
That's the way things have to be done, at least until everybody gets vaccinated, which may not be until the summer, but hey.
Right.
Be patient, people.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know. To me, it won't be that different from last year as far as my watching habits. I'll watch it on TV. That's one thing I wanted to get into with you before we wrap things up. As far as, I'm sure you read about and I know you did because you were asking questions about it. Daniel Kim reporting about the status of whether or not KBO would be televised on ESPN. He confirmed that would not be the case. Basically, ESPN has too many contracts with a lot of the sports that weren't playing last year. So, although, quite frankly, what programming do they really have at 4:30 in the morning? What are you going to do? Watch a rerun of UFC? Or, I don't know, it's like last year they had cornhole tournaments. I remember watching them, but it seemed like almost before every KBO broadcast they had a cornhole tournament somewhere. Like it was like the pro bowlers tour, but with beanbags. It was ridiculous.
Right, but that's the only thing around.
Right.
Also shut down.
Yeah, but this year that won't be the case. Even if you. It seems like the NBA, I don't think they're going to be playing in a bubble in the summer or like they did last year or the NHL did. I think pretty much it's almost closer to normal. It's closer to normal. I don't want to say it's close to normal yet, but scheduling-wise, I think they're almost how it normally is. Still 4:30 in the morning, what are you going to air, But regardless, it's not going to be on ESPN, and I think what he had said, and I tend to agree. I think a lot of the baseball announcers there were kind of getting burnt out, getting up 4:30 in the morning and stuff, So that's probably another thing too. But.
Right, and quite honestly, they weren't bringing in the revenue. That a typical baseball game in MLB would bring.
No.
Or a typical major sporting event would bring. They weren't bringing in that revenue at 4:30 in the morning, 5:30 or 6:30.
Which is a shame because, the reason they picked them up is because there weren't any MLB or any major college or pro sports in this country at the time. Which is a shame because it's like there would be, I remember when watching World Cup broadcasts when they would be like, I remember one year that Korea and Japan joint hosted the World Cup. And there would be like bars and restaurants whenever the United States would play, they would open up like at 4:30 in the morning and serve breakfast. and I kind of wish they could have done that with KBO, but the only reason KBO was on in America was because bars and restaurants were shut down, as were arenas and everything. So you and I were in Fantasyland for a little bit talking about about the Durham Bulls televising like a NC Dinos game at the Bull Durham Stadium, but it's like their capacity as far as like for gatherings, they wouldn't be able to do that or anything like that. So I don't know.
Right, I admire what they did with latching on to the team because of the NC and that having to do with North Carolina.
Right.
But again, at the end of the year when they wound up winning everything, but yet you turn back to the Durham Bulls, and it's like, are you doing anything for their championship? No.
Right. It's all, yeah.
So they caught lightning in a bottle with the promo during the season, but they really didn't care about the rest of it.
No.
They didn't.
That's a shame. I mean, it sounds like it's a one, and it's like it sounds like a one-way street with them. And I hope it's not the case. I hope they can promote them a little bit, but yeah, it doesn't sound like they're going to.
No, they're not going to because their main merchandise is back.
Right.
I'm still going to watch, whatever I watch. I don't stop at 4:30 or 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
I still get up like 6 or 7, so I'll still catch the remaining games. I'll still access whatever leagues I watch, however way I watch it normally without VPNs or anything like that in their native language.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see me doing. I'm hoping Twitch at least picks them up. I mean, I don't mind. I mean, I would prefer to see them live, before going to work or whatever. But I'd be just fine coming home and watching the delayed broadcast like at 7:00 at night or whatever, like would an MLB game here. I have no problem with that. I'm hoping they do that. I mean, I might even get a VPN or something just so I can watch. Because I got hooked on that league, just like you've been hooked with CPBL for a while. But it's like I want to see I care about those teams and a lot of their players now. So it's like, I don't know. It's almost like discovering a new sport, even though it's another form of a familiar sport. It's the way they play it. It's different, and it's different merch to buy. It's different players and strategies to follow. Different rules. I mean, it's a lot of interesting stuff. That is new, and it's like I could still watch my MLB, but I'll still watch KBO and one thing I want to do, Eric, I want to see. I might try to watch more CPBL. And I definitely want to watch more Japanese ball. I was kind of disappointed in myself. I didn't really watch nearly enough of that per se.
Right.
So, all right, and
hey, you only fit so much in your day you can, and plus there's actually other TV too, not including the news.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of doing what you're doing. I can watch. If there's an MLB game on TV, I can watch that, and then I have 2 laptops, so I'll watch Korean and Chinese, while doing that. But
right.
So, but
that's what we do.
Yeah. And I'll decide what I want for the main TV. But or there's one time I actually had 3 games on. I had 2 games on. I had a game on cable. I had another game on my laptop, and then the Orioles I had on radio. So I was like listening to a game on radio and watching 2 other games. It's I don't know, a little multitasking there for baseball, but that was fun.
They're showing right now on the MLB Network a replay of the game from this afternoon, the Cardinal game against Houston. So.
And by the way, I kind of like what MLB does with their broadcast, though. I wouldn't mind if they had like a baseball tonight, like a national crew, but I like the fact that you're getting the local crews of the different teams calling it. I think that's interesting, just to hear those voices and what they talk. I mean, it's like, it'll be MLB, but you'll hear like, I don't know, like Anaheim Angels, and it's like their local sponsors and all that kind of stuff, too. It's kind of cool.
That's fine. That's why I get the MLB packages.
Yeah.
Season tickets. This way you can hear all the announcers.
Right. And that's why I also like about Sirius. They're really good with that also, with their radio broadcasts. They're a lot of fun as far as that. Sirius XM, I should say. But
yeah.
So. All right, Eric. Well, I guess we're close to wrapping things up. Do you have anything you want to add before we switch over to next week, or?
No, I'm all ready to go. This way we got next week more preseason stuff to talk about, and the CPBL now that it'll ramp up.
Very nice. Okay, cool. All right, folks. Thanks once again for listening. We'll talk to you next week.